in learning more, go to www.criticalmassforbusiness.com and learn more about our executive peer group.
Let's face it, not all company challenges are the same, which is why Strategic Market Intelligence can help identify the actionable information you need to be more competitive. Gain a better understanding of your brand, competition, best prospects, or new product opportunities to generate greater revenues in 2015. Call 949-357-9547 or visit www.strategicmarketintelligence.com.
Successfully navigating the changing world of public relations and digital marketing requires an experienced, tenacious, yet gracious team. In business for more than 20 years, Orange County-based T & Company delivers big agency results with personalized service. For more information, call us at 714-536-8407 or visit us online at tandco.me.
Wow. Marketing predictions are out for 2015, and marketing success is changing. Did you know that Google is now actively tracking your business and personal brand and online reputation? Online and offline marketing has changed. Google is driving more than 85% of your traffic. And if your brand is inconsistent or has poor mobile usability, your rankings and traffic can suffer in 2015. To learn how your business is currently viewed and what can be done to improve your brand's visibility and authority, contact SunUp Group for a free marketing analysis. It could be a business game changer. Visit www.sunupgroup.com today or call 877-609-3840, extension 700.
City leaders, are you worried about how you're going to maintain the inventory of trees in your town for decades to come? No need to worry. Call West Coast Arborists. For more than 200 cities in California, they maintain that urban forest inventory in a way in which your citizens will enjoy them for years to come. Your costs are maintained and your trees are beautiful. West Coast Arborists, WCAinc.com or 714-991-1900. We care about your urban forest.
Are you ready to tap into the power of social media to promote your business? It's easy to get social with Turn Up the Volume, the award-winning social media marketing professionals who know how to get results. Drive web traffic, boost sales. Get social today. Visit www.turnupthevolume.com. That's turnupthevolume.com.
When it comes to pioneers in their respective industries, we all know the Apples, Starbucks, and Trader Joe's of the world. In the realm of recruiting, Decision Toolbox is the industry's best-kept secret, with 90% of their business from referrals and repeat customers. For over 20 years, Decision Toolbox's U.S.-based team of recruiters, sourcers, professional writers, quality personnel, and tech support has perfected a Six Sigma approach to talent management. No matter the size of the project, Decision Toolbox delivers incredible results. A cost per hire less than half of what contingency firms charge, with the winning candidate presented in an average of 14 days, all with a 12-month candidate warranty. With results like that, Decision Toolbox won't be a secret for long. Visit us at www.dtoolbox.com for more information.
He used to pester me for a walk. Now, it's the other way around.
Hoag Physicians perform more orthopedic procedures than any other hospital in Orange County. Our orthopedic program, in fact, ranks among the top 5 in the entire country. So whatever it is you live for, you can get back to it sooner. Because as it turns out, the best part of life is simply living it. Hoag for Life. Visit us at www.hoag.org.
You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
And welcome to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show. I am your host, Rick Franzi. Tom Willingham of the Hampton Group is our guest for this segment. Hi, Tom.
Hi, how are you, Rick?
Good. Welcome to the show. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Center Club, Decision Toolbox, MBN Design, Sunup Group, and T & Company. If you'd like to learn more about our radio show or CEO peer groups, visit our website, Critical Mass for Business. You can call or text me at 949-887-4104. Found in 2003, the Hampton Group has been assisting middle market companies to achieve superior performance levels. Their services help accelerate strategies through execution. For over 30 years, Tom Willingham has worked with organizations to help firms with questions about the current economy. He joins us today to go through how you, as a CEO of a middle market firm, can unlock your business potential. Tom, thanks for joining us. Can we start off by tell us a little bit about how you got started in the finance and business management path?
Sure. My background and initial training was as an industrial engineer, so I was working with the manpower, materials, machinery, and the money aspect of operations, and then had a very unique opportunity to be both industrial engineer and controller for a manufacturing plant. So I was not only going out in the shop floor working on method improvements, but doing the month-end close and presenting that to the corporate leadership team as they came around to the plants. And so helping to, focus on the operational metrics and really see how we could drive performance piqued my interest in the finance area and driving excellence in operations.
Yeah, those are two different but kind of related aspects of the business, isn't it? The work you're doing as an industrial engineer, then also kind of closing the books and looking at the financial performance.
Exactly. Well, industrial engineers are kind of the original business consultants, the folks that are in there looking at the efficiency improvements, understanding the numbers and the metrics, not like a mechanical engineer or an electrical engineer who's designing a circuit or designing a specific part. The industrial engineer is really bringing together all the resources to get the job done. And of course, that deals with the money too. And then ended up going back to night school at USC, go Trojans, and got my MBA in finance and consulting, and that just kept me.
So you really got hooked on the finance aspect of it.
Got really hooked on that and really saw the power of understanding the numbers.
Right. And before we leave the topic of industrial engineering, it's not just for manufacturing companies, is it?
No, industrial engineers are everywhere. I've had clients that are banks, hospitals, anywhere there's a process, there's opportunities for improvement.
So tell us how you've taken all this great experience and education and created the company, the Hampton Group. What is it that the Hampton Group does?
Sure. Thanks for asking the question. I focus on three different areas. The first is operational excellence. So that's working with companies to do as simple things of just going out and observing a manufacturing operation, creating a value stream map, a process chart, or doing something more complex like a very sophisticated financial model or a simulation. Recent client I worked with just went out and spent 2 hours observing their production operations and discovered that less than 10% of what their workers were doing was actually value add. That means that they're paying, for 90% waste. Right. And with that particular client, we'll be able to go in, make some changes, reduce their costs, reduce their inventory. It'll probably be a 700% ROI on the project. Not too bad.
So how can you see waste that I, as the business operator, don't see?
Well, the challenge is for most business operators, there's two types of activities that go on in businesses. One is that day-to-day firefight just to keep the lights on in the business. And the second is, what are we doing to build, grow the business quarter over quarter and achieve those CEO's goals? The problem is we get sucked into that whirlwind. We're focused on the month end. We're focused on that irate customer that just called, and we just lose our ability to really see what's actually happening. And you just have to be able to take that time to step back, and sometimes it requires an outsider, that third-party perspective, someone who's able to look through all that waste and really see what's truly going on.
We're talking with Tom Willingham. We're talking about his firm, the Hampton Group, and the kind of work that he professionally and his firm does as well for middle market companies. I assume you work with middle market companies. I said that in the open, but describe the kind of clients that work with you, Tom.
Sure. Ideal client for me is a company that's trying to get to that next level. Maybe they're at 10 or 15 million trying to get to 2025, or maybe they're 2025 trying to get to 30, 50 million. Companies that are going through a change. And I really enjoy working with those CEOs that know they can get more out of their operations. They see the potential, and more importantly, they're willing to at least be a B student and learn some new processes, learn some new ideas, and are open to making some changes.
In terms like value stream map, you used that earlier. Can you just high level for CEOs of middle market companies, what is that?
Yeah, a value stream map, it's going beyond the classic flow chart or process map and really looking at the operation and overlaying some time aspects to it so that you can see how long is a specific process taking. And then asking that question of, is this value added or not value added? And from the customer's perspective.
I was just going to say from whose perspective, right?
Right, because even internally, you may have an operation downstream that says, well, I'm a customer to you, this is value added to me,
right.
But would the customer really pay for that?
That's the key.
And if the customer is not going to pay for it, why are we doing it? Now, you may have inspections or other requirements because of the regulations in your industry. Well, those we consider non-value added but necessary.
Right.
The idea on those is, how can we minimize those? But anything that's truly non-value added, that's pure waste, and we look at how can we eliminate that.
And we're talking with Tom Willingham. So I love what you do and what you've been trained to do and what others in industrial engineering do for companies. You can actually take it down to the activities on a certain desk, right? And looking for the most efficient and effective way to handle processes as simple as in a manufacturing setting or in an office space setting.
Exactly. A couple of years ago, worked with a bank looking at their 5 different lending operations, everything from antique auto loans, asset-based lending, commercial and industrial loans. And like on the antique auto loans, they're working with a finance company that would go out, book the loans, and then they would buy the loans and service them. Well, it was taking about 2 to 3 weeks to book and board the loan. When we looked at the process, we realized, why are we taking 100% of the loans going through the chief credit officer to get them approved? We did a little quick Pareto analysis to look at the volume. We said, 80% of the loans are less than a certain value. Let's just up the credit approval for the credit manager. Let them do that. Why does everything have to go through, all the way to the top?
Right. So and the other thing that I've heard and observed as an operator as well is when you put the value stream map together, sometimes you realize how much time things are in a waiting space. And that's technically waste too, right?
Exactly. Delays, that's a classic. There's different waste, the transportation, moving things around. If you map the flow of a part through your process, if it looks like a plate of spaghetti because, the path is just wrapping back around.
Take it here, bring it back, do it again. Yeah.
Exactly. Send it over to the North 40.
Right.
That's a waste. You have wasted space. A company I was working with that just had all their products spread out and each unit just sits there for 5-10 minutes. And they have 50 units that are spread out on the factory floor. And meanwhile, the company's out trying to find additional space.
Which is expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive. So, everything that they were doing really could be completed in about a 10 by 10 area, but they had a 8,000 square foot building handling that operation.
It is such a joy to have someone with your set of eyes and skills come through and walk through a company and then linking it to your financial training, because the kind of things you're talking about will show up on the income statement in a positive way if you fix them, right?
They do. And what's exciting too is taking the same process that we use out on the manufacturing floor or with the purchasing department and translating that to the executive team. And one of the other areas where we work with organizations is in teaching strategic execution or mastery of execution. So helping businesses to understand the process that it takes to actually execute your strategic plan and not just create that 3-inch thick binder at the beginning of the year and then have that become waste, just sitting on the shelf, not being touched.
It's all about execution, isn't it?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And there's certain things you can't learn except by doing.
Exactly. And unfortunately, if you look at all the graduate schools, all the MBA programs, you'll see classes on project management and strategic planning, but there's no education on on execution. And what we've found over the last decade that we've been working with organizations is that execution and execution management, it's like the air that we breathe. There's elements to it, and we've just always taken execution for granted that it's going to happen.
Right.
But hey, there's oxygen in there, there's nitrogen, there's all these different elements, and as we break down execution and understand the different activities of defining your goals, getting the clarity, getting the engagement with the employees, and teaching companies those elements of it, it's really opening up a whole new area.
That's great. We're going to take a break here on Critical Mass Radio Show. Tom Willingham of the Hampton Group is our guest in this segment. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the work that he's doing. Matter of fact, I'd like to talk about unlocking the potential in the business. I think we've been touching on areas of the potential, right, by removing waste. But let's get into that a little bit more when we come back, okay?
Sounds great.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Tom Willingham after these words from our sponsors.
Richard Franzi is the author of 2 popular business books for CEOs. His first book, Critical Mass, The 10 Explosive Powers of CEO Peer Groups, was the first book ever written on the secret value of CEO peer groups. His second book, now with newly updated information, is Critical Mass, The Power of CEO Guiding Principles. Richard's books contain powerful information to help CEOs running middle market companies gain valuable insight to improve their decision-making skills. Richard's books are available as paperbacks or Kindle versions from Amazon.com. To find them, type Richard Franzi in the search box.
Hey, did you know that over 73% of consumer packaged goods and retail products fail miserably within their first year? Why? Because they find themselves in the pit of unawareness. You don't want to go there. Call me, and I'll make sure that your packaging gets noticed. You know how I know? Because I'm the founder and creative director of MBN Design. We're one of Orange County's most established and trusted design firms. With over 20 years of experience, I can ensure that your brand will always stay new. Ask me how our packaging sold millions in months, or see for yourself other success stories on our website at www.mbndesign.com. We're MBN because we're making brands new. Call 714-458-8701 and talk to me, Hector Garcia. That's my cell, 714-458-8701. I'll be waiting for your call.
And welcome back to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show. I am your host, Rick Franzi. All our shows can be heard anytime on iTunes, Stitcher.com, Spreaker.com, several hundred former guest websites whose CEOs, like Tom, have put the appearance on their website. Since 2009, our shows reached over 175,000 listeners with our podcast. Simply type Critical Mass Radio Show into your podcasting software to find our weekly shows. Before the break, Tom, and Tom's the founder and CEO of the Hampton Group. Before the break, I said I was going to ask you to talk a little bit on how you help middle market CEOs unlock the potential of their business. We've talked a lot about the kind of work you've done as an industrial engineer, but give us the broader sense of the kind of work that you're doing and how you bring that potential to bear.
Sure. The key is we had mentioned earlier is there's 2 types of activities, that day-to-day firefight and the bigger picture issue. And I think the key is for CEOs to recognize the difference between, waste and variability in their operations. And just because you see a lot of activity going on doesn't mean that it's all productive. And taking that time to, step back, be that fly on the wall and really observe what's going on and see how you can improve the performance. And one of the key things that, as we talked earlier, that we'll do is go through and do some of the process mapping, look at the numbers. And I don't know if you saw a couple weeks ago in the Orange County Register, there was an article in the sports section about Moneyball and the future of analytics in baseball. And it's just incredible now. They're going more, beyond just the rotation of the ball and balls and strikes, but, looking at using radar to track a player. And are they using the most efficient path, as they're going to catch the fly ball or whatever. And they can use all this data, that they're mining off of every pitch, off of every hit to come up with the best team and the best strategies. Well, businesses have that same opportunity today. There's so much data that we can collect about our operations, and with the computing power that's out there, there's ways to capture that information, analyze it, and model your operations so that you can have that plan A, B, and C, D, E, F, whatever you need, so that you're prepared for any of that uncertainty. Because right now in our economy, we're at a tipping point. We could take off for another year or two, or there's just as good a chance that we could have another recession here.
But regardless, if a company works on improving their operation, that's good in good times or bad.
Exactly.
You shouldn't wait for an outside thing, uncertainty, to force you to make your business run better.
Exactly.
You got to do it now.
Always look at your operations. Yeah, it's that slight edge of if you can make a small improvement, it's going to compound day over day.
Right, and you said earlier in the first segment about Pareto, and that's what I would say to middle market CEOs. Look at the processes that you have that are the 20% that are driving 80%. Start there, right?
Exactly. When I first started working at McDonnell Douglas, years ago, the classic industrial engineers, were out there doing the time studies and whatnot. And I quickly realized, we're down here dealing with a lot of the nits and gnats, but there's bigger wastes that are going on.
Right.
So why are we spending all this time way down in the trenches? There's big things that we're tripping over. You can't see the forest for the trees, and let's cut down some big trees.
We're talking with Tom Willingham. We're talking about the kind of work that he does with the Hampton Group with his clients, who are middle market firms, just like many of you that are listening to this podcast or radio show. The other thing that I've seen from a smart application of a process improvement is the morale of the employees actually picks up.
Oh, definitely. When employees recognize that what they're doing is adding value and they see the impact that they're having, they feel better. Because often the employees out on the shop floor or in an office, they realize that it's waste. They're frustrated.
Right. You're making their life easier.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's the fun. I used to go back to Wichita Falls, Texas, to a plant, and I still remember the first time I went in there talking with one of the guys, like, "Oh yeah, you're just in here to steal our ideas." I said, "No, I'm in here to make your life easier."
Right.
And they really appreciate it. When they see that you care and you can come in and make their life more enjoyable.
A lot of I assume my experience is a lot of the work actually takes the field level person's input because they know best what they're doing that they wish they didn't have to do or they could do better.
Exactly. And if you can elevate them, train them how to solve problems, they're going to feel empowered.
Right. And when they see you actually implement their idea, they own it.
Exactly.
They're probably going to adhere to it.
Exactly.
And ensure that others who might use that process follow the new process because it's sort of theirs.
And that's one of the keys, as a consultant, when I step away, there can't be any backsliding.
Right.
I need to make sure that I'm teaching the people, the old proverb of, give a man a fish, he eats for a day, teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime.
Right.
That's my objective. Get in there, teach people, get them engaged, get them excited about how they can really take charge and improve what they're doing.
So we have a few minutes left here with you, Tom Willingham. I'm wondering, we talked about uncertainty of the economy. You sort of talked about that a little bit, but I think it's clearly becomes important when people don't like the performance of their business based on their income statement, based on a recession, right? But isn't it healthy for clients to sort of think like, we always have to be ready for a recession, so we always should be as efficient as possible and running our processes as lean as we can.
Exactly. And unfortunately, we see some businesses that, they go through the good times and they get in the mode of, they're successful in spite of themselves, and you just want to grab them by the shoulders and shake them and say, wake up, what's going to happen if, you could be booking a lot more profits now that would give you the opportunities for profit sharing or whatever, or investment in new equipment, new machinery, growth for the business. I had one client a couple of years ago that was very proactive, back in 2007, 2008, as the economy was starting to turn down. They said, we've got some ideas for some new products. We want to invest now in some new products so that, when things start to turn around, we've got to jump on our competition. And over the next 2 years, what was supposed to just be, once a month for 2-3 months turned into every week for about a year and a half of just stepping them through a new product development process so that when the economy started to turn around, man, they had like 3 new products that they were able to launch and really start to drive some new revenue.
Well, Tom, you reminded me and reinforced for me that a fresh set of eyes on a business can find process improvements, and when they're professionally trained with the experience that you have, it's easier, right? And you not only can you see it, but you can, I think the real value then is take them through the process to eliminate it for good.
Exactly. And for businesses to recognize, my role as a business consultant is not to come in and say, you're doing things wrong. It's to say, can we do better?
Right.
And the answer usually is yes. Always. We can improve.
Every process can be tweaked. I mean, and the early gains are the biggest.
Exactly.
Right? You get the most benefit from the first time you do something. Right. And then you're working on smaller and smaller and refining. So even if you've never done it, then the good news is you're about to get the most gain if you just do something.
Yes.
Okay. So if someone would like to learn more about the Hampton Group and you in particular, Tom, how do they find you online?
Sure. I'm a very active networker on LinkedIn. Also, you can look at my website, www.thampton.com.
Or how do you spell Hampton?
Hampton, H-A-M-P as in Paul, T-O-N.
Okay, thank you.
thampton.com. Or you can give me a call, 562-673-9950, or email me at tomw@thampton.com.
Okay, so nothing's worse than somebody starts to give a phone number and you start to write it down and you didn't get the whole digit. So do that one more time.
Sure. Phone number is area code 562-673-9950.
There you go. All right. Well, it's great to have you back on the show. I know we were talking 2014 was the last time, so every couple of years you need to come back and remind me about the importance of tightening up your business operations.
No, thank you so much, Rick. I think what you're doing here with Critical Mass and your executive forums is fantastic, and I think there's a real need for middle market businesses to have this education that you're providing.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to take our break here on Critical Mass Radio Show, and we're going to go from an industrial engineer, MBA, to a rocket scientist. Don't go anywhere. Lori Buss is going to be joining us. LBI Training Institute is her firm. I'm very excited to have Lori on the show as well, and we'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
If you are an Orange County business executive, this message is for you. Do you ever feel isolated with no place to turn for advice or feedback? Who holds you accountable to your commitments in your company? Where do you find the right resources to help you and your company grow? If you have these questions, then Critical Mass for Business might be the answer for you. Critical Mass for Business is committed to helping you make better decisions. These are groups of peers running businesses just like you, providing a great sounding board to test ideas and concepts, review plans and goals, and present issues and opportunities for discussion. The result is improved strategy, accountability, people, and execution skills. If you are interested in learning more, go to www.criticalmassforbusiness.com and learn more about our executive peer group.
Successfully navigating the changing world of public relations and digital marketing requires an experienced, tenacious, yet gracious team. In business for more than 20 years, Orange County-based T& Company delivers big agency results with personalized service. For more information, call us at 714-536-8407 or visit us online at tandco.me.
When it comes to pioneers in their respective industries, we all know the Apples, Starbucks, and Trader Joe's of the world. In the realm of recruiting, Decision Toolbox is the industry's best-kept secret, with 90% of their business from referrals and repeat customers. For over 20 years, Decision Toolbox's U.S.-based team of recruiters, sourcers, professional writers, quality personnel, and tech support has perfected a Six Sigma approach to talent management. No matter the size of the project, Decision Toolbox delivers incredible results. A cost per hire less than half of what contingency firms charge, with the winning candidate presented in an average of 14 days, all with a 12-month candidate warranty. With results like that, Decision Toolbox won't be a secret for long. Visit us at www.dtoolbox.com for more information.
Welcome back to This Is Critical Mass Radio Show. I am your host, Rick Franzi. We love reviews of our show. And if on your favorite podcasting software, if you would take a few minutes to write a review, this is a great way for other business owners and CEOs to find our show. Since we started in 2009, we've reached over 175,000 listeners with our podcast, and your review might help us reach a few more. Albert Einstein said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we use to create them." In 2014, Lori founded LBI to teach Dr. Edward de Bono's powerful 6 thinking hats and lateral thinking methods so that an organization can utilize the full creative potential and logical thinking of each member. As I said before the break, we went from an industrial engineer to a rocket scientist. Lori, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rick.
Let's get started. How did you get interested in innovation, and why is this important for firms to invest in fostering innovation, Lori?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, being an engineer is fundamentally a lot about innovation, but I'm also an artist, and I found that when there was a point in my life where I was showing in galleries and so forth, and when I did that, and then I had gotten back into aerospace engineering, and I did the painting before my work in the morning, my thinking started to be very different. It's hard to describe it, but was finding solutions that were different than I could have logically thought about them. Even relationships were softening where there was some tension, finding ways that we could do our processes faster and safer and so forth. And so I was much more engaged too. I was really excited to see how I could improve work and solve the problems. And so I really wanted to bring that back to the corporate sector and to all industries, because innovation is critical to doing business today.
So let's talk about your firm. We're talking with Lori Buss. Her firm is LBI Training Institute. What is it that you're doing? I sort of said a little bit in the open, but give us a sense for the kind of work that companies are hiring you to do, Lori.
Yeah, well, there's, as I said, I want to bring innovation back in the corporate sector, and there's so much talk about that, the innovation, creativity, and communication, collaboration, how employees can be productive and engaged. And these are really big issues in an organization and can be very overwhelming as to where to start. But obviously, being an aerospace engineer, I'm no stranger to big projects. And I wanted to find a systemic way of producing results. I mean, I could take the luxury of messing around in my studio to get more of my creative brain engaged, but obviously that's not going to work in the corporate environment. I was really looking for something proven and repeatable that would work for all personalities in any job function, any level of the organization. In aerospace, we do everything by process. If the satellite breaks down, whether it's in test or on orbit, you don't just start sending commands to figure out what happened. You follow the procedures. There's been experts that have written the procedures. They've been reviewed by the team. They're validated on the simulator. And we call these standard operating procedures. And as I've been exposed to more industries, I find that many don't have that, or they don't have that in the management and creativity and innovation realms. I think that people might even think we can't have standard operating procedures in our marketing department and in our product development department, but you can, and we need to. And so the standard operating procedures that I found for innovation, they work very well too with getting clarity on a situation, more the managerial aspect, analyzing risk, making good decisions, and evaluating proposals well using standard operating procedures. So that's what I provide my clients from my background to the tools that I found are the most excellent to be using in the corporate world today.
We're talking and listening with and talking with Lori Buss, and we're talking about the kind of IP that she brings in to help companies with innovation and creativity. It's interesting, Lori, because what you're saying is that through using standard operating procedures and processes, you can actually release innovation within a company. And so I'm going to ask you, can you share a little bit about the concept of lateral thinking and maybe help our audience to understand how that might help release innovation and creativity?
Sure. Well, lateral thinking is basically a creative thinking technique, and there are a number of creative thinking techniques, and I've used and looked at a lot of them and talked to other leaders about how effective they are, and I can get into that. But regarding lateral thinking, it's a creative thinking technique that was developed by Dr. Edward de Bono, and basically his premise was that our brains work against us for doing something new because we're wired to look for patterns. So we make 35,000 decisions every day, and if we had to consciously think through each one of those, we would not be able to function. We'd be paralyzed. So the brain's always looking for patterns. Do I use the accelerator or brake pedal in this situation? Do I put my shoes or my socks on first? Does this food agree with me? And this pattern seeking comes into our interactions with people and our problem solving and our innovation efforts. When we're looking at a problem, we associate with something we were able to successfully solve before. And we associate it for whatever reason. We do that with people as well. We associate them with someone with whom we worked or had a relationship before. And we try to figure out how we did in the past and solve that problem in the same way again, but we're hitting our head against the wall or we're, having to relate to someone, and we associate them with someone in the past, and now this person isn't reacting the same way, and I'm getting into trouble in a relationship. It's disintegrating. So we're looking for patterns, and the lateral thinking jumps us out of those patterns. A good analogy would be if you think of the rain coming down on the mountains, and the water finds a path of least resistance and lowest potential and starts to form little rivulets and then gullies, and eventually you've got a canyon, and do this over a few decades of our lifespan, and you get a lot of Grand Canyons. And this is the way that I've traditionally thought about things and solved problems.
Sounds like a rut.
Gets us, yeah, exactly. And it's we talk a lot about that the neurons get stronger when we think a certain way or behave in a certain way.
So that can work to our advantage, but it can also work against us, right? I mean, it's evolutionary, a real opportunity and advantage to be able to do this pattern thinking and create these ruts, but as it relates to innovation and creativity, it sounds like it may be constricting.
Exactly.
So how does lateral thinking get you up out of that?
There's 7 tools under lateral thinking, and each have a number of variations, but it will jolt us out of our normal patterns. So, for example, one of the ones that is used, it's fairly bold, and so I usually try to warm people up a little bit before we use it, but it's provocation. And so something you can think of it along the lines of, what if our customers paid us what if our customers came to us instead of us having to do marketing and go to them? And then there's like Costco, or what if customers paid us to come to our store?
Right.
There's in the Neighborhood Watch, actually, back in New York in the 70s and 80s, when it had like the worst crime rate in the world, they used a provocation, said, well, policemen have eyes in the back of their heads. And out of that came the Neighborhood Watch program, where citizens become kind of pseudo part of the police force and help the police. So provocation can often get us out of our normal thinking patterns. What if our customers believed or did the opposite of what they do now? So something along those lines.
So it sounds like provocation, and we only have a couple minutes to our next commercial break here on Critical Mass Radio Show. We're talking with Lori Buss. It sounds like provocation is really asking questions that cause you to think differently.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair? That's what I heard you say. Did I get it? Did I get it, Lori?
Yeah, you got it.
All right. See that?
And most creative thinking techniques do some form of that. I thought I'd offer your listeners to look up Scamper. It's an acronym, and you can Google it, and that might be interesting to use. Stay away from brainstorming unless it really, really works for you. But
why?
For the most part, research shows that it doesn't really work. When you get a group of people in together, people will take one of a couple different stances. One, they'll still say what they think is within the bounds of reason. They don't want to look like a fool and say something too outlandish or something that might be perceived as stupid. Others will go as extremely outlandish as possible, and there's really no hook back into what the original issue was. It's like, okay, we're so far out of the box we can't even see the box anymore. And then others kind of sit back and use it as entertainment and way to get some laughs and so forth. What they found, though, is if you have people do kind of brainstorming individually before they come to the meeting, it really warms things up. And I often ask people to just write ideas down in maybe 20 minutes, 50 ideas. And when you just keep going and keep going, you get through the standard ones, and then you start getting through into some new ideas. And another technique DeBono uses called random entry. And I was making one of these lists one evening for a work project, and I was at a conference, and it was a hotel room, and it was late at night, and I really didn't want to be doing this, and I had the TV on, and I started using the scenes in the TV as kind of random entry as I was thinking about my project. So suddenly there was a river with a bridge over it on TV, and I thought, well, how can I bridge this? Or there was a lawyer running to the courtroom, and so those things of just associating with something that we wouldn't normally associate our problem or our focus on.
I'm talking with Lori Buss. She is the founder of LBI Training Institute. I think you used provocation on me earlier in this interview when you said brainstorming doesn't work, and that caused me to go, what? Why? You shook me out of my comfort zone. Did you do that intentionally, Lori?
Good. No, but I have a knack for doing that.
But is that a valid example of kind of what you're talking about? It's challenging convention and.
Yeah, well, that came about just from my research, and I could tell from my own experience too, especially working with engineers and more logically oriented analysts and financial experts. It's hard to get out of that logical mindset. So brainstorming in a group has been found not to, but I'm very glad it's a provocation. I think I might use that now.
Yeah, I think based on an experience of one, as valid as that might be, it worked in this setting. So thank you for that. We're gonna take our next commercial break here on Critical Mass Radio Show. When we come back with the time that we have left, I'd really like to focus on part of the other IP that I know that you've mastered and that you're using to help companies. Dr. DeBono's 6 thinking hats. Can we talk about that when you come back?
Absolutely.
All right. You don't want to go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. You want to listen to this next segment of our interview with Lori Buss after these words from our sponsors.
Richard Franzi is a highly sought-after keynote speaker on topics of interest to CEOs of middle firms across North America. Richard's talks include Killing Cats Leads to Rats, a fascinating look at how unintended consequences of CEOs' decisions impact their firm's performance. Your Gray Matter Matters, which explores how a CEO's mindset can differentiate a middle market firm and define its culture. Richard delivers talks to a variety of audiences, ranging from executive team retreats to keynotes in front of hundreds of CEOs. To learn more about his talks, visit criticalmassforbusiness.com and select the contact page or call 949-887-4104.
When it comes to pioneers in their respective industries, we all know the Apples, Starbucks, and Trader Joe's of the world. In the realm of recruiting, Decision Toolbox is the industry's best-kept secret. With 90% of their business from referrals and repeat customers. For over 20 years, Decision Toolbox's U.S.-based team of recruiters, sourcers, professional writers, quality personnel, and tech support has perfected a Six Sigma approach to talent management. No matter the size of the project, Decision Toolbox delivers incredible results. A cost per hire less than half of what contingency firms charge, with the winning candidate presented in an average of 14 days, all with a 12-month candidate warranty. With results like that, Decision Toolbox won't be a secret for long. Visit us at www.dtoolbox.com for more information.
And welcome back to Critical Mass Radio Show. I am your host, Rick Franzi. You know, a great way to stay informed about our guests is to sign up for our weekly newsletter. Go to criticalmass4business.com, and at the bottom of any of the pages, you'll see a box that says Join Our Mailing List. Simply type in your email address and hit subscribe, and you will start receiving automatically our weekly newsletter, which has information about our upcoming guests as well as special insights from me. We don't sell our newsletter database. We don't use it for anything other than our weekly announcements of our guests. So if you're interested in the content like what we're doing here today with Lori, please find our website and subscribe to our mail list. All right, Lori, I'm talking with Lori Buss. She is the founder of LBI Training Institute. We talked a little bit about lateral thinking in the last segment, and this one I wanted to really have you share a bit about the IP behind Dr. DeBono's 6 thinking hats. Can you give us a primer on that, a little overview of the concepts?
Oh, absolutely. Well, something that maybe you'll consider a provocation as well is that we have several different modes of thinking, and when we're looking at a decision, we're looking at a problem or a proposal evaluation, we tend to mix them all up at once, kind of like 4-color printing. If you can put out each color separately, you've got a beautiful color, but if you put them all on together, you get mud. And whenever you're looking at a innovation and whether to invest more resources in it, take it to market, you've got a proposal to evaluate, you have a decision to make, you've always got your facts and data, you've got your pros and cons, you've got some alternatives and maybe some creative ideas, things you could do differently, and you're inherently going to have some emotion around it or some gut instinct. And of course, in the corporate world, nobody has emotion, and so we disguise it as logic, but we all know what a hidden agenda means, and so that's exactly what I'm talking about. So we have these different modes of thinking, and we tend to not recognize that we're using them all at once, especially when we're in a group, when we're in a meeting. And so you may have one person putting out a new idea, and another person fires back with some facts and data, and someone inevitably is going to knock down that idea because we are all looking for danger. That's kind of part of our reptilian brain and also an evolutionary fundamental fact that we have to deal with. But we get in a meeting and nothing really gets done. We get a lot of churning. And so if you can separate out each of these modes, separate out your facts from your benefits and value, from your risk and analysis, the obstacles you may need to overcome, the problems with your idea, from then your creative ideas, your alternatives, the possibilities, as well as your emotion. When you can separate those out, and especially when you can get everybody in one mode of thinking at once, it's really phenomenal. I recently spoke with Dr. David Tanner, who started DuPont Center for Creativity and Innovation in 1990, and he's used these tools for decades. And I called him and I said, what's the downside of the 6 thinking hats, which essentially separates out these modes of thinking? And he said, they're genius. They're really genius. And that's what I found. It helps with generational communication. It helps with people who have some language barriers, if English isn't their first language, or there's some cultural differences. Reduces a lot of ego and conflict. These are some of the byproducts of it. But it really allows you to look at your creative efforts or your decisions, your proposals, in just a much multi-dimensional. You get the full thinking of the intelligent people that work for you, and that's just going to, knock your competitors' socks off. Your most valuable asset is essentially your people.
Right. We're talking with Lori Buss, and we're talking about some of the things she knows to help companies spark innovation and creativity in their company. With the 6 thinking hats, do you find in your experience that the effort on companies that want to adopt this is learning about the hats or understanding and perfecting how to apply it within their business creativity and decision-making processes?
It doesn't, can I say this? It doesn't take a rocket scientist. I know. I don't normally do that. But anyway, it came into my mind. But once the 6 thinking hats, basically the fundamental concept is fairly simple to grasp. There are some nuances when you are leading a team or when you're in a meeting, anything from a performance review to a weekly status meeting to a session for product improvement or new innovation. There are a lot of nuances. If somebody makes a comment, you may not be quite sure under what hat that falls and how to kind of moderate and facilitate, especially if you're introducing it to your team and they have not done the training. But it's fairly simple once people know the language, and if there's a knowledgeable person in the room, whether they're the meeting leader or not, but someone who can just kind of keep an ear tuned out for some of the subtleties and also know how to sequence the hats. Obviously, it's going to look a little different doing a performance review than a creativity session where you're trying to solve maybe a major issue with your product line, for example, and it's an all-day session.
So it seems like to me that companies at first, the actual application of the different hats might feel a little bit forced as they're learning, but I would think as the culture comes around and as they apply it more, it might become more automatic and then more subtle in how companies use the 6 thinking hats to spark innovation and creativity.
Yeah, it's like anything new. It feels awkward. It might feel a little bit gimmicky. People might want to water it down, but then it loses its effectivity. It does, like anything. It feels a little bit awkward. It may feel tedious at first, but you're changing, and change is usually hard and requires some effort, but that's already setting you apart then from the competition. If change was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Right.
And so once it can be learned and it begins to become more routine, then it was interesting at a couple companies recently. I was talking to some of the folks who had retired from there, and they had used 6 thinking hats. And they said many corporations have a sign in the meeting rooms that say, kind of etiquette for meetings and so forth. And they actually put on there, use the 6 thinking hats. So it really made a powerful statement. And the other thing I want to mention too is that a team or an organization can use hats on their own. It doesn't take an executive mandate to say, okay, you can use the 6 thinking hats. It doesn't need buy-in from the top or the bottom. So it's really nice because it's flexible in that sense.
Right. If someone would like to follow up on this conversation and learn more about this IP through you, how do they find LBI Training Institute online, Lori? How do they find you?
Very easily, lbitraining.com. You could email me, Lori, Laurie, at lbitraining.com. And I found that it's difficult to just talk about the power of the thinking tools and that they really need to be experienced. And so I offer a 59-minute free demonstration for teams or even meeting with an executive or director for a half hour or so one-on-one to use the tool so they can get a sense of the applications and the possibilities of using the tools in their organization.
Well, that's a generous offer. Okay, and they can get that through the website and contacting you.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing a slice of what you know about this subject and being a friend of the radio show and a part of the Critical Mass community, Lori Buss. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. It's a privilege. Thank you, Rick.
Have a good day. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it this segment closed here on Critical Mass Radio Show. I'd like to thank our advertisers, Center Club, Decision Toolbox, MBN Design, Sunup Group, and Tea & Company. Our engineer for today is Paul Roberts. Joan Park is our producer, and I'm your host, Rick Franzi. If you'd like to learn more about the radio show and my firm, visit our website, criticalmass4business.com. We do love subscribers to our newsletter, and we'd encourage you to do that as well. And until the next show, I hope all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.
You have been listening to Critical Mass Radio Show Business Talk Show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Wow. Marketing predictions are out for 2015, and marketing success is changing. Did you know that Google is now actively tracking your business and personal